Now, what will we learn in this logic course? Good question. I mean, some people say, gee, I think logically. I'm a reasonable person. I can get to the right conclusions. I'm a good thinker. I guess it's going to be easy. Well, in that case, it's going to be easy for you, but something you should be aware of. You should be very careful and very critical when you're thinking, because the mind has ways of playing tricks on us. In fact, it's a very common example. People who have encountered criminal procedures have studied witnesses, and they find that witnesses are notoriously bad at remembering what they think they saw, and their thinking isn't always working in the right way. Now, that's just an example. But what will we be doing? What will we be learning in this course? Well, we're not going to be learning facts like the one that I just told you, that people, witnesses make many mistakes, but rather we're going to be gaining a skill that is learning how to think logically rather than learning new information. Now, certainly we're going to be learning new information and new concepts, but it's concepts that will give us a skill. And in philosophy, we make a big distinction between what's called informal and formal logic. Now, for those of you who are math phobic, that is, anytime you hear something that sounds like math, your brain goes into neutral, don't worry, because we will be doing informal logic, things that look like math, or what is done in formal logic. Now, occasionally some of you might think that some of what we're doing sounds like math, but it really is not going to require any knowledge of mathematics. Understand, informal logic helps us understand and evaluate arguments. That is, it is everyday applied reasoning. Now, by contrast, formal logic involves developing a symbolic language in which you cast all these arguments and you derive all kinds of rules that are acceptable rules for inferring some symbols from other symbols. And it's very math-like. And for centuries, that's all the philosophers did in the field of logic. And late in the 20th century, certainly the second half of the 20th century, philosophers were kind of frustrated in teaching their students and only discovering that their students didn't get the connection between this formal logic and getting their ability to reason improved. And as a result of it, we in philosophy have developed a whole branch which we know as informal logic, which will help us understand and evaluate arguments. And arguments are things that we encounter all the time. Take my word for it, you encounter them every day. And I'm not talking about fist fights on the subway, and I'm not talking about play fights somewhere. I'm talking about arguments trying to persuade somebody of something. And what I'd like you to do now is take out your piece of paper and think about it. Where do you encounter arguments? And where do you think it would be helpful to have a really well-honed skill of evaluating and understanding arguments to help you in making good decisions? And take out that piece of paper and try to list at least 4 or 5 different areas where you think that'll help it, because that will help you. And once you're done writing them down, turn to the next slide.